So for people that are listening, I just want to basically kind of introduce them to who you are. If you could kind of just give a brief little introduction into, maybe what bands you play in and kind of like how long you've been playing the drums.
I'm playing in drums like most of my life. I mean, literally since I was like 5, because my parents are like hippie musicians, so they kind of always supported me playing music, which I think that's probably why I got good at it. Just having grown up in that environment, and that was kind of rewarded to get good at it. But I think I started playing in bands when I was like 16, just punk bands. Yeah, just kind of gnarly punk bands basically. And then I joined this band Psychosomatic in like 2020. No, 20. I'm sorry. I was 20 years old. It was 2000.
Awesome. Okay.
I was 20. But I knew the singer Jeff since I was like 17. So I met him back in like 1997. Yeah, so I've been playing with Jeff and Psychosomatic for a long time.
Awesome. That is a long time. That's a long time. I didn't realize how long that's been. That's awesome.
Like 20 years, like half my life, pretty much.
That's great.
Yeah. And then I toured like, I guess like around like 2015, I filled in on drums for Revocation on one tour. And then in 2019, I filled in on drums for Skeleton Witch. That's about it. I just toured a lot with Psychosomatic, and we put out, I think, 4 albums with Psychosomatic. I don't know if I think it's 4. I thought it might be 5, but it's 4. I think. Then I've just done some kind of playing with friends, doing recording projects and stuff like that. But that's pretty much it.
Awesome. That's a long time. That's a very long time. I'm not calling you old. That's just an incredibly long time to be playing music. That's great. Great. That's just a long time to be involved in. That's so wonderful that you had such supportive parents. You grew up in a household that's encouraging music. I mean, that's wonderful that you had that environment, especially with drums, because I know that drums can be very loud. I had a drum kit, so it takes a certain amount of volume. I mean, speaking to that though, because you've got drums in your place right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's right. I've seen it. On that note, did you find it very difficult did you have like places to practice in with Psychosomatic, place like a warehouse type of space, or what did that look like?
So at first it was like really just chaotic. It was like it would be there were some practice warehouses in Sacramento that Jeff would line up, Jeff and Justin, and I lived in Monterey, so I'd like drive up on the weekends to meet them when I was like, I must have been 20. I was thinking I might have been 19, but something like 20 years old. I'd drive up, meet them at a practice room for the weekend. We'd play like for hours for like a couple days, and I'd drive home. And it was just like, yeah, literally warehouses in kind of an industrial area that they'd rent out for a couple of days. And then, once I moved up to Sacramento, I remember practicing in like people's basements, like just like local like musicians would let us play in their basement, and we'd practice there. We'd like load in, set up, practice, load out, and it was kind of like an event. And then I found like this place called House of Hits, which is like a big warehouse with 50 rooms or something like that. And I think that was like 2005 or something. It was a lot easier at that point because we could leave our stuff, we could get more on a routine, like, usually at least twice a week, 3 days a week we'd practice. But nice. that practice room went until about 2011.
Oh, nice. Good run. My God, I can't imagine the chaos of just like packing in and out like all the time, every day, or even on a weekly basis. That would drive me crazy. I've moved a lot recently, and that alone is just like overwhelming. I like barely own anything anymore just because
right.
I can't even imagine, and as people, we need a space. We need a space to either, like just have our stuff and be, as nomadic as we want to say that we are, we all need like a space, especially probably with a creative, you need like a creative space or a way that you have something set up and you want to like have it this way and not have to break it down and build it back up, I would imagine. So that's nice.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you got to have a place to work, and like, like just knowing that, okay, all I got to do is go down to this place and I could do what I need to do, instead of like, first of all, I got to like run a bunch of chords and set up a bunch of stuff. And then
That
it's like,
sounds like hellish. Yeah, sounds like
yeah, you know,
so.
we were just getting started out, I guess. I mean, Jeff had been playing for a long time, but I had just started out with him, so it was just like
Sure.
rocky, chaotic, you know.
And were you, I'm assuming, renting at an apartment at that time?
Oh, at that time, it was more like I think I was living on Jeff's couch. You know what I mean?
I've done that. Yes, I've done couching. So yeah.
It's like,
Okay.
yeah, I was just on his couch, and then he got another house, and then you know I got a room and everything, in like 2005, I think it was, and we just rented this place in Citrus Heights, which is outside of Sacramento.
Mhm.
I lived with him for a couple more years.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, where did you say you were born and where did you grow up?
So I was born in Santa Cruz, California,
Okay.
and then we moved to Boulder Creek, and it was just fucking like 15 people, or I don't even know. It was just
Something tiny.
fucking hillbilly house sliding off a hill, and like, you know, and then we moved to Reno, Nevada. Then it was just fuck, if I start talking about my childhood, it's gonna get like weird, but like we lived in motels, like we lived in a motel above the Seventh Ale in Hollywood, and
Okay.
my dad got fucking arrested for dealing drugs and went to jail, and like we lived in fucking motels, and like it'd be in and out of like my grandma's trailer to get back on his feet, or he'd have it together and then he wouldn't, and you know, and then my mom always had a roommate, so it was just fucking really chaotic.
Yeah, lots of chaotic, lots of moving, sounds like too, you know, while young, and then, you know, up until, so on that, you know, on that subject of, because I know, again, you know, talking about that like almost lack of stability of having like a place, you know, and having those types of things. When was it that when did you buy your first property, and did you live in it?
Yeah, it was so weird. I bought my first house in 2011, and it was like, let me start with Shannon, because
Okay.
like I was living with Jeff until about '07, and then I think I just kind of like just started living at Shannon's. I don't think I asked her. Like,
It happens. I've totally done it. Just become part of their place. Yeah.
She had this like duplex on in Sacramento. She had a duplex, so I just kind of like just was there all the time. I started bringing my stuff over, and then I just was like living there. It was just funny. Like I just fucking like invited myself into her place. But anyway,
I understand that.
So in like 2009, she bought her first house, and it was like in North Highlands, just the fucking hood. And the thing about it is, at that time, I got a job I got my real estate license in 2005.
Okay.
Like I was working at a warehouse sanding aluminum baseball bats for like, it was with no fucking mask and like no downdraft tables, just like an awful job. It was just a bunch of felons and shit. It was just a shitty job. And I worked there for like a long time. Well, a year, not a long time. I broke my toe there. Like,
oh my God.
It was fucked up. I shattered my big toe there.
Oh
like,
my God.
gnarly job. And at lunch break, I got like a home study real estate course. So at lunch break, I'd read my book. I'd go home, I'd read, I'd wake up before work, I'd read, and I just like would read my book. And I, you know, after I took the test like twice and failed both times, and then I finally passed. By that point, I had gotten out of the bat job after I broke my toe, and I got another job at a warehouse, and they taught me how to drive forklift and shit. And I got my license, and then an old friend of mine, well, kind of acquaintance, you know what I mean? He's like, he got a bonus if he got anyone in at this mortgage office. So he hooked me up, but I mean, he got a bonus, so it worked out for both of us, you know.
Sure.
So he got me on, and I worked at a place called Genworth Financial for like, almost 4 years, I think. That like got me into like I wanted to become a real estate investor when I was like in my early 20s, and I didn't know shit about anything. But then like people are like, why don't you start in the service part of it so you know what the hell you're talking about? You know what I mean? And so I started doing loans, you know, and that was real, you know, I got to understand the mechanics of everything in the real estate industry through doing loans, you know, because you end up talking to everybody involved and you kind of hear stories, and it's just, you learn a lot. My first thing into real estate, not to jump around, but I lived in Hollywood for like a year in a studio apartment when I was 21, in a studio apartment with 2 other dudes, and I slept on a top bunk, and I was going to go to like Guitar Institute, but I was like, fuck, it's 11,000 a semester. And like, I didn't feel like I was going to get out of it. There was one guy, I think it's the band called Aphex Twin, I think. If I'm thinking of the right band, the drummer taught there. He's a fucking monster. I mean, it was a long time ago. He's very fucking good. But the other shit is like teaching you how to play, like, I love Stuart Copeland, but he's teaching you how to play Police songs. And I'm like, dude, I know how to fucking do that. I'm not going to pay $11,000 a semester to learn this. You know what I mean? So I didn't go. I moved down there to go to school, and then I was like, this is insane. I'm not going to do that. So anyway, I kind of just like ate shit down there for like a year. And but I remember I was driving around and I heard on the radio, like, you know, better your life with real estate, you know, like come to our seminar. And it was like this big fucking seminar, and everyone's selling like really expensive like real estate courses, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, but I bought one. Like I this fucking guy, I don't know what he was teaching you how to like do foreclosures, and I went with a friend of mine at the time, and he let the 2 of us pay for one course or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
We flew out to Marietta, Georgia, which is outside of Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And he basically did this like, yeah, you knock on doors and you just ask them if they want to sell their house after you go to the county recorder and get a list of people who are fucking, you know, foreclosed. Yeah. And we did. And it was like, you know, getting yelled at and shit. And, you know, but that, and then we didn't have money to get back. So we took a Greyhound bus back after like people had to buy us a ticket. We were like so dumb. But anyway, I was like 21, I think. But that was my first thing into real estate. And then it was like when I was 25, I got my real estate license. And then I got the job doing loans for like 4 years. And then I quit. And that's when I was like, I want to tour with Psychosomatic. So I fucking like just totally recklessly cashed out my 401k and like, you know, acted stupid. But we toured, and it was sick, you know, love it. But anyway, so Shannon bought a house in 2009, and I was working at the loan office. And 2009, obviously, that's when the market crashed really hard in like 2008. Right.
Yes.
So like, she bought it like kind of at the time when it was like still going down, you know, and it ended up really bottoming out, and she lost a lot of equity in it. But it was like she bought it, and like it really. I mean, that was the first experience I've had because my family doesn't know how to do that shit.
Sure.
Generally speaking. So like that was the first experience I had. And I don't think she did either, but she's just fucking awesome. So she's like, I'm just going to do it. And
rad. Mm-hmm.
That really, you know, that taught me about that. And then in like 2011, I bought a house in Sacramento, and that the market was fucked. And I remember like everyone was like, you're going to buy a house? That's crazy. Like fucking, we're going to be saluting to China. This country's going down in flames. It's like you're fucking like, people would like, you know, they don't understand the boom bust cycle. And right. Like that's a perfect fucking time to buy. That's how you make money. You know what I mean? So I bought it a great time. And Shannon ended up selling her house. She got out of it. She made a little bit, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah. And then she bought another house. So we always kind of like, we've been together, you know, a while, but just buying our own shit. And she bought another house in Carmichael in like 2015. Then we just got fucking, I think 2017 is when it was like, I'm like, what if we sell our houses and just like, move, and like I'll look at some places where we can afford. At first it was like, let's just get a cheap little house somewhere and like pay it off and just live there and, you know, live the simple life and shit. And then I got ambitious and
good.
We ended up partnering up, and we created an LLC, and we got like ended up getting 3 rentals in there, or 3 investment properties, which were rentals, and now they're kind of flips. You know, it's like it kind of blurs. It just kind of depends on what's going on, what you need to do at the time, you know.
Right.
But we got the 3 investment properties, and then we bought another house 2020, and I think that's it. So it's like should be 7 houses total, I guess, over the last since 09.
That's awesome and super impressive. That's a lot of houses. Like that's a lot of houses for anybody to have. That's wonderful. Yeah, that's so much experience between the both of you, and wonderful that you can combine, you know, the experiences together, and obviously the buying power. You know, when you have partnering up, whether it's going to be with a actual spouse, a partner, whatever, or you know, even friends, crowdfunding, you know, whatever type of teaming up that you do. That's really awesome that you guys are able to do that. So, would you say that right now? Because was the house that I stayed in, that was the one that you bought in 2020?
Yes.
Cool. Great spot. Great. I love that house. And the house that you're selling is one of those 3 rental properties.
That's correct.
Okay. And all of your properties now, for now, at this time, are all in Washington State?
That's correct. So we have 3. We sold one in 20. It must have been 2020. We sold the first house we bought was a farmhouse, and it was bank owned, and that was a whole like experience. Like, you know, it wasn't just like I was talking to someone else who bought a bank owned, and it's like buying from a bank. Yeah, it's a little bit harder, but it's fine. You just gotta jump through a little more hoops, but it's totally fine.
The way that I see it, and I've represented buyers when buying bank-owned properties. I've never personally done it myself, but you're kind of at the mercy to the bank. You know, you're kind of the mercy of their timeline. You do have to jump through more hoops. It's kind of just a bit more of a thing because it's not a person, if you will, on that other side. Would you say that's kind of your experience?
100%. Yeah. Basically, I'm like, hey, I'm 12 hours away. Can I have a 10-day inspection period? Which I think is reasonable. Like they're like, you could have 5.
Oh God. Yeah. Okay. 5 is not cool.
I drove up, and it's like a 12-hour drive. So do them, you know, it's like shit. In 5 days, I had to really bang it out. So I just.
Oh my God. And make a decision and put all the calculations together and all that stuff. Oh my good Lord.
Yeah. It was like, it was exciting, and it was like scary, but you know, and the house is so fucked up. It had been sitting for over a year, and like I found out more and more problems as I got into it, but I just had the mindset like I don't give a fuck, I'm gonna do it, you know. Well, I asked Shannon, I'm all like, okay, I see this and this, it's fucked up, like, you know. I tell her, and she's like, do you think you could do it? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, fuck it, you know. And all right, fuck it, you know. We did it.
I love that.
So, that's like a whole fucking. I feel like it's a different person I'm talking about sometimes when I think about like the shit I did at that house. Like there's like one working outlet, and it would go out sometimes, and it was the winter, and it's fucking raining, and I'm 12 hours away from, I might as well be in the middle of fucking nowhere, because it's a farmhouse in a field 12 hours where I'm from.
Oh my God.
So, there's no fucking plumbing. So like TMI, but hey, this is real. Like I had a bucket of $5 toilet seat from Home Depot, trash bags, and cat litter. Like
so impressive.
I just fucking squatted there for like, I think a month for the first time. And the first like night I was there was just like, I could hear rats doing fucking like wrestling moves with each other in the attic. Like just fucking, there's tons of fucking like bugs and like spiders and like mosquitoes and shit inside the house. And the carpet was all like damp and fucking smelled. And it just fucked off. Like, so I just had my mat that I'd go on tour with, and I had a space heater with the one working outlet most of the time. I had like 3 layers of clothes because it's so fucking cold. And I just like worked around my mat. Like I would just start cleaning around my mat and pulling carpet and washing and like fixing whatever I could for the month. And by the end of the month, I had all the carpet up, and it was like hardwood floor underneath.
So fine.
And it was cool. Like I was like, it started to, you make it your own. And
Yes.
and then I came back to SAC for a couple months after that, and then made the final move in January. And I stayed in that house for like 2 months, and it's still no plumbing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just fucking crazy. But
that's incredible. That is incredible. Wild. So, did you do just a lot of the work yourself on it? Did you have previous knowledge on how to do this? Did you YouTube it? I mean, how familiar were you to working on homes prior to that?
So I've I bought my house in 2011. So, I got some experience doing that. And I've always kind of like I got a job with my old guitar player, Justin, roof framing in like 04.
Okay.
And that gave me some framing experience, construction wise. Let's see. Then I did tree work, so a lot of landscaping, cutting down trees, like crazy fucking tree shit. It's like insane sometimes. And then I got a plumbing gig for a minute, just enough to learn how to do it.
Sure.
And,
wow. Okay.
And then I built like a soundproof room in the old house in Sacramento. So, drywall and fucking all that. So I pretty much had done a little bit of everything before I came to Washington. And it's a good thing because like getting like help out here with subcontractors is very difficult. Like it's no one believes it, but it's like there's very few contractors, and the ones that there are always really busy, and they're selective, and so you gotta really pull your weight up here. And a lot of times like I would just have to fucking figure it out. Like I figured out a bunch of shit that like I just had to. So yeah, so I would say most of the work myself. My friend my brother, man, Brett, came up for like a week, and he fucking like just rocked it with me, and it was fucking so rad. He helped me out so much.
That's awesome. That's impressive. Wow.
Toward like the last year or so, I've gotten I've found some handymen and contractors like that, plumbers and shit, concrete people, just all sorts. I've been kind of, I wouldn't say burned, but like I really had to get up people's asses sometimes to get the job done. Like something that should have taken a couple of weeks took 9 months.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? All in all, like I found some really good, solid people up here, and so I lean on that a lot these days because it's like
you got to have, in my opinion, if you're a homeowner or an investor of any kind, or in my industry as a realtor, it's just solid gold. And it's almost like a life thing anyway. When you meet solid people, right? You want to keep them around. And I feel like that's been the same case for any of the vendors that I find. If I find like a great go-to plumber, like even if he's a little bit more expensive, I'm like, but that's the guy, he's going to show up, his work's going to be quality. Like I know him, and I've tried to, in Hawaii, it's there's definitely a lot of people here that do types of work, but, it's just finding the type that's going to be reliable, finding the one that's going to keep the timeline, finding the one that's going to do it the right, permitted, acceptable way, or things like that. That's been a challenge, even in Utah a little bit as well when I was there, but I can imagine in your area, it's like, a lot more scarce in general. So yeah, keeping on to those good people is going to be a core thing. With that farmhouse, what did you do with that? Did you rent that out? Did you just have it as like an estate that you had? Did you have a farm?
Well, it was on a 1/4 acre, but it was like on like a cornfield next to a dairy. You know what I mean? So it was like on a literal farm, but I ended up renting it out. And the thing about the bank owned house, like the thing that kind of I didn't even know would become a thing was like and it's kind of dumb when I think about it now, but like someone else owned it and lost it. And I didn't fucking put that together. So like the house had been sitting for over a year, and I'm just thinking like, fuck, you know, it's just sitting there. It's empty. It's like melting into the ground. No one fucking wants to do anything with it. You know, I'll fix it up, you know, and I'll be the guy. And, but the thing is like someone lost it, and like the people that lost it inherited the house, and they own the house in front of it. And, I really, you know, felt bad, you know, like, cause they, you know, I got to know them and I heard their story and everything. And it's like, I had no fucking idea. Like stepdad blew out a huge fucking HELOC and like took the money and ran. And then the kids got stuck with it, or they tried to save it by making the payments, but then it flooded out here.
Oh, wow.
And FEMA like required a flood insurance payment, and then they couldn't afford it at that point. And it's like, fuck, I didn't know any of that shit, you know? And it'd be, like I said, sitting over a year. It's like, I don't know. What are you going to do? But that's the thing with bank owned. I mean, that's kind of a factor, you know, like,
sure. That's a great thing to think about, you know, is like, you know, because I think that too. And I don't think about it enough, but, you know, that sometimes passes where I'm like, you know, somebody lost that house. There's a story behind that, you know. I always, you know, I try to, and I speak with other realtors, you know, like, oh yeah, you want to talk to pre-foreclosures and all that. I'm like, these are people that are like losing their property and they're going through something. Like, I don't want to just like go up there and be like, hey, like, you want to sell me your property? Like,
exactly.
It's people that are going through something, and sometimes investors, realtors forget that, you know, and I appreciate you bringing that up and bringing that to attention, because I mean, a lot of times right now, people just see dollar signs. You know, they see a beat down house and they're like, opportunity. But behind that beat down house is somebody who's struggling, who can't upkeep it, you know, and it might be in whatever way, mentally, it might be financially, there's a reason there, you know. And so I think, you know, though, on the flip side of that it's actually pretty great what you're able to do, which is to come into that property, to that piece of land, and revive it and bring it that new life and give it, you know, just a new birthing, you know, and fill it with new memories, if these walls could talk, almost type of a thing, you know, because I mean, it is a storyline. And now this house is a different story. It has you, someone just die hard roughing it, trying to make it a better place, you know, and doing that. I mean, did you end up, you said you rented it out, so I'm assuming you added plumbing?
Oh, of course. Oh yeah. Yeah. I did so much that.
Sorry, that's crazy to like add plumbing to a place. I mean, it takes a lot to add a well. I don't know how the well laws are in Washington, but I know they're never really super simple.
The well, yeah. So the well got to stay, but the problem was one of the many problems. The well was at the corner of the property. It was a 1/4 acre, and then they had it wasn't a septic system. It was a
cesspool.
Yeah, it was a cesspool.
I see. And there's like a specific distance that those things need to be, right?
Yeah. So it was a cesspool. What that is
crazy. Those are crazy alone.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, it's basically a concrete box in the dirt, and the toilet, so it's a soil stack, but that's just the shit pipe, to just speak in layman's terms, goes into the concrete box.
Yeah.
That's basically it. And then you got to get it pumped every fucking 2 years at least. You know what I mean? Whatever. But whatever they did, like, they're supposed to have a concrete lid over it.
Right.
There was not one. It was plywood.
Oh.
And it was just like plywood with a bunch of nails on it and shit. And, you know, they just tried to make it super heavy. But that house, like, never took water, but it did flood around the property. It was crazy property.
Wow, bizarre.
Fucking crazy there. The river would flood in, and I remember, like, while I was working on it, like, I came back because you can't be in there. You're just stuck in your house, you know? So I bailed. I came back, and the flood water had taken the lid of the septic of the cesspool off of the cesspool and just fucking sent it down the field. And I'm by myself. I don't, you know, that I just didn't have anybody you know what I mean? I'm in the middle of fucking nowhere. I don't know anybody. I don't like, so I had to fucking drag this fucking piece of shit lid across this fucking field. It took me 2 hours, I think. It took me so fucking long.
That's so long.
Was it 2 hours? Dude, it just seemed like, I hope I'm not exaggerating. It took fucking forever. Like, I just take breaks, like.
Oh my God.
And then I you got to get it back on there. And so I got the fucking lid back on. So I basically, I had to put in a septic system. And I had people telling me like, yeah, mound system, $25,000, all this shit. And then like, the farmers are like, you can do it for $1,000. Just get some fucking pipe and newspaper and gravel. And I'm like, I want it permitted. I want to actually like be able to, do something with this house someday if I can. So I got a septic engineer. He drew me up plans for $1,200. He came out to the property. We walked around. The cesspool was like fucking 40 feet from the wellhead. You're supposed to be at least 100.
Right.
Otherwise you get shit in your water.
Correct.
So like he came over and he's like, that's not good. We got to put your drain field way over here. You got to reroute your fucking plumbing through this concrete footing. Like I had to reroute everything. So, and then drop a 10,000 pound fucking, or what was it? 1,200 gallon tank. I forget. A big fucking concrete tank, 3 45-foot long fucking drain fields. And I did it all. Like I was working part-time at Home Depot, like 20 hours a week. I'd work from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then I'd go to that house and I'd fucking work on that. And one of the people I worked with, like her husband, like I paid him as a laborer to be a hand, you know what I mean? Yeah, the first order of business is I had to get underneath the house in the crawl space. And I spent 8 hours a day for at least 7 days in that fucking crawl space, crawling around, like getting garbage out of my way while I'm down there, cleaning out shit, just like, you've got 2 feet to crawl around. You got to like wedge yourself in between fucking crazy spots. And what I found when I was down there is there wasn't any plumbing. There was a soil stack for the toilet, fortunately, but the kitchen sink went straight into the crawl space. The bathroom sink went straight into the crawl space, and the bathtub went straight in the crawl space. So anytime anyone took a shower, did their dishes, or fucking washed their hands in the bathroom, it would flood into the crawl space, which made sense because that area of the house was sloped off about 3/4 of an inch. I was like, what the fuck's up with that? But that was it, because all this water, you're living in it. And so I fucking I had to cut the soil stack. I used the angle grinder underneath the crawl space and put on goggles and a mask, and I fucking cut through the cast iron soil stack, like laying down, fucking pulled it out and shit. And then I put in new ABS soil stack, coupler to join the bathroom sink, coupler. Oh, then an air vent, which there's no air vent, but I put one in.
Nice.
And then I ran that to the bathtub, and then I ran it to the kitchen sink, and it's got to be on a 1% slope. So I got to make sure the whole time it's on a 1% slope. I'm crawling around. And then I ran the ABS waistline out of the west side of the house where it had normally been on the north. I had to get a hammer drill, like a gnarly one, and fucking spent like, I think, a half hour fucking putting a hole in the side of the footing with this fucking hammer drill. ABS pipe through that, ran it into the, I had to rent a excavator and dig a 7-foot hole and a big ass hole to stick the septic tank in, which we call a truck in, Stanglin Septic, and they dropped the tank in. They had to pull it back out, come back out, had to re-level because I didn't get it. I didn't dig the hole deep enough, or I dug it too deep and I had to backfill it. And then I did this whole shit with the excavator, and I just did fucking many other steps. It took about 3 months. By the time I was done, I was always calling the engineer. I was always calling the permit office. And by the time I was done, it was around the holidays. And I said, hey, do you want to come check it out? I'm all done. And he goes like, he said, I think someone already came by and checked it out, and you've been really keeping up on everybody, so it's good. Happy holidays. Like, it went really smooth, but I was really just like on top of it, making sure, like, because I heard horror stories about permits, but I don't know. In my experience, it's like I was so fucking OCD about it. I think like I was annoying the guy. So I don't know.
That's awesome. That's a great, oh my gosh, though. That's great because that could be such a nightmare. I mean, there's so many permit nightmares out there. So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
A good lesson, to really stay on it. I mean, I'm impressed by that, very impressed by that. How long from purchase to sell? You don't have that property still?
No, we bought it in October of 2017. And then we sold it in I want to say August of 2020.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
And would you say, I mean, and you don't have to disclose numbers here, but would you say that was a decent rental property? Did you do well with it? Was it, were you having to dump a lot of money into it? Did it have a lot of problems that way?
Like the house, I got in pretty good shape before we got tenants. So I didn't really have a lot of repairs I had to do. Like there was a couple of times when the well tank and shit, like I had to do a couple of things that weren't really that bad. But and it was a decent rental property because I had decent tenants. Like I actually, they were really good tenants.
That's awesome.
They were good people, and really grateful for that. But the problem with that house, it wasn't like it falling apart, really. That wasn't an issue. It was the fucking flooding. Like the winter time, the river, it would just move in. It's it's farmland. So it's really fertile, but that's because the river fucking floods it.
Wow. Yeah.
The river moves in and you're fucking like I saw video of ducks. Like my tenants took video of ducks, like a family of ducks fucking floating by their front porch, which is normally a driveway.
Oh no.
You can imagine. And you can't get out because there's a dip in the road that there should be a culvert, but it's like 5 feet deep and it's just, you can't get out. Like, I think if there was a culvert put there and you had a lifted truck, you might be able to, you can get out, but because it's water's at least 2 feet deep in some spots. And like,
I would say, sorry, I'm just thinking about this, like, because I would say that probably, that's probably a type of issue that anybody that's buying a bank-owned type of property, anything that's like that or similar, where you're not going to have like a seller's disclosure. I mean, I'm not sure if you got that. Bank-owned usually don't have anything like that. They don't have anything that's going to be helpful information or any history on the property. Because typically, if you had like a normal seller, if that's something that's a known material fact that it floods and water comes in, it's going to be something that's going to be like on paperwork, as I'm sure you're familiar. So yeah, that's like definitely a hurdle when you're buying something that's bank owned or any type of way like that, where you're not going to have any pre-known information. And then you just happen to find out all these things that happen, whether seasons change and how that affects your property.
Yeah, shit happens. I did call ahead. I talked to some local farmers and they're like, yeah, it floods. They didn't give a shit. They're like, I don't know, it floods, and like, okay, and yeah. But they're like, I didn't know, like, you never know until you get into the situation.
Right. No, of course. And now you understand that. Now you kind of know what to look for, what to ask, what to find out, That's incredible though. Wow. What an amazing process working on that property. And I'm assuming that for the other properties that you've had, were they in similar conditions? Did you buy them in the same way? Did you have to fix them up or were they turnkey?
Oh no. I bought the 3 most fucked up fucking houses like possible. And that's not something I'll do again. But like, I don't know. I felt like, I'm going to do this. And I was just fucking like, I wasn't ever going to quit,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, but if I had to choose it again, I'm going to, in the future, I'm going to work smarter, not necessarily harder. And I put myself through a fucking just gauntlet with those houses, but they were fucked up. And,
yeah. Well, I mean, that's incredible lifelong experience that you'll have, for yourself and to, of course, teach others if you ever want, but just for yourself, that you've done it. Doesn't mean you have to keep doing it,
Yeah.
For sure. I hear a lot from investors similar to yourself that are like, I will never do that again myself. You know, they're like, I will never, I will always, if anything, if I buy something that needs some love, I'm hiring a professional. I'm never going to do it again. You know, some people, I know I have clients that want to cut corners or save money. And so they just do it themselves and it ends up being something that they never, ever want to do ever again for whatever reason. But
Yeah.
at least you can fully say that you have it. You have that amazing experience. So now, even if you buy a property that just needs a little bit of something, it's going to be a breeze, right?
Yeah. You know, I think every investor has a story like this. You know what I mean? Like it's very, I would imagine very common, you know, and they're all funny to hear and unique in a way. But yeah, like the thing I found was, yeah, I was putting in my time and my labor, and that's great. But like in the end, it's like, I think if I'd have bought like in a better area, spent a little bit more on a little bit nicer house, you know, I wonder like if it have been basically as profitable, you know, I don't know. But,
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's, you bring up something very, you know, good to think about because I imagine that you're not done investing, right?
hmm,
Yeah. If anything, gonna continue to do that probably in some way, shape, or form forever and invest in real estate.
yeah.
So now, you know kind of how you want to analyze properties moving forward and seeing if you want to spend a little bit more. Will it give you a little less headache and will it make you more money because the rents are higher or whatever it may be? You spend less work. I don't know. You know, it's definitely something to weigh out, especially when, you know, is spending more going to be worth it for this type of thing and factoring in those numbers. But do you see yourself, because I know you're selling Cherry Street, are you going to sell the others? Are you going to just kind of revamp? What does that look like for you moving forward? You know, because as you just said, you're going to continue to invest.
Yeah. So Cherry Street, it's done. We're gonna close hopefully
Next week in Perfect World.
Yeah. It's supposed to be December 10th. At best, it'll be sometime next week.
Any minute. You're going to close any minute.
And that'll be that. And I'm looking forward to it. But the other house on Pacific Avenue, I did so much fucking work on it. But the problem lies in the location and the foundation. The location being like, if there were ever a flood again, the big issue is like, around here, if you start doing a lot of work on a house and you make the value go up more than 50%, I think maybe it's 40%, I don't remember, you have to raise the house. This is a special thing in our area because we're right on the river, and the Army Corps of Engineers had put up a jetty or a riprap and shit to prevent flooding, but still like the city is like, you know, they're like, you have to raise the house at least 4 feet if you're going to improve it or raise the value more than 40%. So like there's a workaround with that. I don't know if I need to blow them out of the water if anyone's watching this, but there's a workaround with that, I think. But I'm just not a workaround I'm willing to do. And basically whatever work I've put into it, which has been substantial, I'm just going to sell it as is. The realtor I work with seems to think we can get a conventional loan on it based on its condition. That'd be nice. I'm not counting on it, but if I got to sell to a flipper or an investor, I'm totally down to do that.
Nice.
But it's going to see like the houses I got, and kind of what I had in mind was like I was going to get like a trailer with like a built-in workshop. I'd pull up and like have a crew of a couple people, and it sounded really nice. And if you have 3 people who all know what they're doing, you could really get some shit done. But that's just not how it worked out. And that's you gotta accept it for what it is. So like in my particular situation, I think I'd have to get a house that's a little bit more fixed up for me to be able to work it, as opposed to like, that's just, these houses are going to take a crew for sure. And I've had investors say like, yeah, my crew, it'll take us about 4 months and $60,000. And I'm like, that means a year for me. Like,
yeah,
it's just, at the end of the day, like we're gonna honestly quadruple our fucking investment on everything. So we're gonna do all right, you know.
That's amazing. That's
I'm not
so awesome.
like it. I talk a lot of fucking like, oh, it's so hard. I did all this shit, but like it's fine. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it certainly fucking changed me for sure, you know. But
Sure. Lots of light at the end of that tunnel, though. You know, when you sell something and you put so much work in it and that check, you get all of that, you know, everything kind of makes sense. And then what you can do next, you know, what doors that opens next and all of the sweat equity that you've put in, you know, and the reward.
yeah.
I've found me personally that the reward in fixing up a property that I like lived in with no electricity. I did that whole thing and it was like, I swear haunted at one point. I felt like it was, but, and
Right.
then, oh my God, just tearing down just so much like wallpaper, and my bathroom was like definitely sloping. I had to completely redo. But I know that feeling of, you know, when you sell it and you know, done it up and it looks great, and that feeling of just, you know, not necessarily getting rid of it, but now what are you going to do with that? And, you know, I've been able to just turn that money into more investing, and what that's going to continue to do for me, just from, you know, that time that I spent at that property, you know, certainly changed in a lot of ways, like my life, because I was able to do so much afterwards, you know, and continuing to, and it's kind of like a snowball effect. I think that's why, you know, I'm so dedicated to trying to get people to understand like the benefit of getting into real estate because of what it can give you, you know, long term and even short term. I mean, I know that I've been thinking a lot about like wholesaling, and I know David's talked about that, and like what even just starting on that level can do for people is amazing. You know, just seeing real estate in many different ways change people's lives, and also the things you learn from it, like the skills now that you have are skills that so many people don't have, and you can just get into something and turn your time into so much money by just the time you spend because of the things that you now know how to do. It's incredible. And I mean, a lot of people don't have that ability. You have ability that not a lot of people have now, you know, which is awesome. And the mindset and the total grit and understanding of, you know, of what investing takes as a whole. I'm not saying you want to keep doing that, you know, but that all the hard labor, but it's impressive. It's super impressive what you're doing, kind of where you've come from, even just hearing like life story in a little small nugget, but you know, it's incredibly impressive what you've done and what you're doing, what you've learned on your own. Like that's incredible. I mean, you should really pat yourself on the back. Not some people, you know, some people definitely do this, but not a lot of people do this and are doing it as well as you are. So, I mean, I congratulate you on many levels. It's awesome to hear.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's it. That's awesome. I mean, you're going to be, I'm assuming, you know, purchasing more properties in Washington.
Yeah, you know, like we got our house now, and I'm kind of like put into this house a little bit, you know, because it's like I feel like I'm getting pulled in like 5 directions, and you know, do we put into this house or do I kind of start looking for another one? And I'm also looking into wholesaling too. So
Awesome.
kind of look at wholesaling as just like basically deal finding. You know what I mean?
For sure. That's the way I think of it. It's just deal finding. It's finding a deal. And then what do you do with that deal? There's so many options like within once you find one, either you can try to wholesale it, or for me, having a license for you, you know, being once, I don't know if you are still, but you can try to sell it for them, help these people out if they don't want it, like find an investor. You can find, there's so many different cool things once you find a deal, and finding deals are very exciting. But yeah, I mean, that's awesome if you're getting involved in that. I mean, it's something I think a lot of people should get into if they're truly interested in investing and kind of just getting involved in real estate. I mean, myself, the reason why I got my real estate license was not to be a realtor. Like, I don't intend to be a broker and like do that whole like life. Like I'm not knocking on it, but the reason why I got my real estate license was after I sold my house in Utah. And I was like, I want to do this like all the time, fix up a property and sell it like 2 days later. Like, and it was great. And it totally gave me that itch. And I, you know, definitely want to only be involved in real estate investing, myself. And that's why I have my license, but I love it. I think that wholesaling is such a good option for people, and just, burr methods, whatever it is that you find, that works for you, investing in different marketplaces that you don't live in, if you're, I don't know if we had like talked about like Detroit, but at one point and I'm still interested in Detroit. I'm very interested in places like Indiana, so you have a whole lot before you, now that you're selling off some of these properties. I mean, I don't know I know that there's 0 state income tax for Washington, or is it sales tax? No.
Oh shit. I think Oregon is no sales tax.
Sales tax for Oregon, but I know that Washington's pretty good on something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
it's really good on property tax.
That's what it is. Okay. Yeah.
From my experience, I'm not sure. Like all the houses we bought in has been reasonable.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is now that you have your own house that even if you don't know if you want to stay in there forever, you have so many options. You can potentially buy like another property, stay in it part-time, figure out what you want to do, rent it out when you're not there. A lot of people don't really have the opportunity, or just don't think big. There's so much stuff out there to really kind of work with real estate. And that's cool that you're going to get involved in wholesaling. Love to know how that goes. I'll check in with you on that for sure.
What really like I think there's stigmas in real estate, and I get it, because like I said, there are people that do get hurt in real estate. I get that, but it's like, fuck, I take wholesaling as applied to like what really kind of got me thinking about like I've bought and sold a lot of houses. I've done a lot of fucking work. I will sell it at a discount to a wholesaler. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like,
interesting.
Like, so I'm like, it doesn't have to be like this fucking, like, you're a vulture preying on people in destitute situations, or it's like, it's not about that. It's like, if you look on paper and it's like, if I sold Pacific Avenue for this amount and then someone fixed it up and sold it for a higher amount, I think the person who doesn't understand real estate would be like, you got fucking ripped off, dude, like blah blah blah. And it's like, you actually don't understand how complicated this shit is, like
yeah,
wholesaling. Like wholesaling, it's like there's so many factors involved in a house, like family, economy, politics, fucking like their job, health. Like you just don't, it's just like all sorts of shit. It's not just as simple as like, it's worth this, it could be worth that, and that's where you actually can help somebody,
Yeah, sure.
You could fuck people over too. It just kind of depends on the type of
Sure,
person.
yeah. Motives vary. Yeah. No, that's incredible. I'm so impressed. I also wanted to ask you, how much do you enjoy, because I would imagine having a drum room in your house?
Oh, it's great.
I imagine.
It's weird, man, because I mean, I don't know. It's like when I get so committed to doing something and then I don't really think about it, and but I guess I'm in my drum room right now and it's like it's a studio. It's like, oh shit, I don't know. It's really sick.
It's like, awesome. Yeah. I mean, that's super great just to be able to have a space where you can just create in your own house, where you can know exactly how you want everything to be. I mean, I had a music room in my house growing up, and it was awesome just to have everything in one place. And I know that, to people that will be listening to this, some don't have that and some want that. And there's a way to get it, and there's absolutely a way to get it. And you are a shining example of someone who is totally, in my eyes, made it. You have multiple properties and you're in a great band. You do all this stuff. You have a lot of this experience in many different ways. And now you, as a musician and homeowner, have both. You have a place where you can practice and you don't have to haul everything around and all that madness. And you've got everything right there under one roof. I mean, that's incredible.
God damn, I don't think about it. I guess, yeah, I'm very grateful for everything for sure. I just, I don't know. I'm always just focused on like, get the next thing, fucking, like, I'm always just so focused on the next fucking thing. I guess I don't really,
Yeah, well, people sometimes forget to slow down and think about what they have. I'm very, very guilty of that. I'm often thinking about what I don't have and what I could have done better, instead of versus what I did do and what I achieved and what I accomplished and what I learned, and I would encourage anybody, that's been through a lot, whether it's, childhood stuff or whatever it is, hard things and then all of the work, like sometimes it's just really good to reflect on what it is that you've experienced, just maybe from an outside, and then give yourself kind of like a pat on the back. I mean, you've done a lot and it's super, super cool to know you and now know even more of you and where you've come from on things like that. I mean, I would hope that people, you included, and people like you, give yourself time to like look at what it is that you've accomplished, what it is that you're doing, and I mean, you don't have to build an ego over it, of course, but it's just awesome and you should be very proud of what you've done and what you're doing. I'm stoked for you. It's super impressive. So
Dude, it's also like, I've drank so much and partied and just childhood shit and whatever fucking people go through, and I've blown so much fucking money and just like fucked up and
yeah,
that kind of shit. And it's like I literally just, I mean, that shit, it's like pain is a motivator, like pain points. And a part of that, thinking about like how much I fucked off for so many years, and that really like makes me like, kind of like, it was kind of cathartic getting these fucked up ass houses, which I mean, one of them was like a kind of it's like a drug house, I mean, there's like 15 mattresses in there. There's a dresser in there that had 4 drawers filled to the brim with cigarette butts in each one. There's like shit behind the toilet. Like I don't know how they did it. It's kind of impressive. They fucked another, like there's like fucking shit wiped on the wall. It was insane. Like it's just a fucking crazy, gnarly kind of, I don't know. It seemed like kind of a meth house, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Because the people that were coming around afterward were fucking out of their mind. You know what I mean? And I feel like I get that life, and I hope that they're okay and shit. But sometimes you can't help unreasonable people. But like I look at that house, and it was like the house on the block that was just Pacific Avenue was just the fucked up house on the block, and people coming by, they're asking me such and such here. I'm like, fucking I'm looking for such and such,
Oh God.
like they're not here. They're never coming back. It's not like that anymore. You know what I mean? And,
yeah. Wow.
but like I cleaned that house up, and I kind of, for a while at least, I mean, it seemed like made it a kind of little bit nicer street, and
Yeah. Oh my God. Totally. I bet the neighbors were so happy, unless they were like looking for drugs. But I bet the neighbors were so happy, that you came in. That's what I always think of with people like yourself that come in and like fix up a house. You really change the street, because one house can totally just bring down the value for their neighbors, but also just be a nuisance to live around,
Yeah.
So to be able to come in and clean it up. I had a neighbor from hell. And if they would have left, my life would have been so much better, like it might, but yeah, I mean, it's great that you were able to do that for those people on that street, for the house itself. If you, we can just kind of wrap it up here. I just wanted to ask you, if you have any, just doesn't have to be crazy, doesn't have to be any type of advice, but if you have any advice for anybody that's like thinking about getting involved in investing, or maybe somebody super young, what would be something that you would share to them? Or maybe your younger self, what's something that you could maybe say?
Okay. I remember when I was younger, I was trying, like, I felt like the government and banks were like fucking needles stuck in my body that were sucking blood and life from me, and I couldn't escape, and like nothing, I can't get ahead, and everything's fucked, and like shit needs to change, and this fucking country is bullshit. Like I just whatever. Like I was really pissed off and shit. And hey, some of that, hey, some of it's true. You know what I'm saying? But I reached a point where, why do I need to work for this fucking dude at this fucking job who like getting rich, and I'm just like doing some shitty ass work, and I'm like a wage slave and all this shit, you know. Again, hey, some truth to that, you know. But I reached this point where if I'm gonna make a change, if I don't like how things are going, I have two options, because I feel like life is a series of navigating conflict points.
Mm.
And can I change if I reach a conflict point? Can I navigate that conflict point by changing everybody else and controlling what they do and changing all that? Or can I change my behavior and control that? And if you look at a timeline of what you can get done faster, it's going to be change your own behavior. And it's like, I just focused on that. And then it's like, okay, if I'm going to change my behavior, that's the one thing I can control. Then maybe I'll work this job and I'll maybe I'll make better use of my time, like with the real estate. You know, my mid-20s, I started to kind of, okay, maybe I'll talk about real estate. Why don't I fucking get a real estate course? Okay, I'll spend my lunch breaks on it. I'll read after work. And by the way, it's kind of a piece of shit. I drank all the time. I partied. I fucking blew money. So I'm not like, I'm not, you know what I mean? But I still like found time.
Yeah.
I made time to try to do something that, you know, if it's something I could see in the future that is going to be beneficial, but I got to change to get to that. Change is painful, you know, and, but if it's worth it, then do it, you know, change, become that thing. Because if you're going to become something, that means you're not it now. So you have to change. You can't be who you are if you want to be something else. You got to become that thing. And so like, yeah, that shitty job, it's like, well, fucking like, what can you control in that situation? Maybe learn shit that seems like minuscule, like budgeting and saving a little bit of money, which I've always, you know, trust me, I've fucking been terrible at, but I've gotten better. And I, you know, like, well, now I'm pretty good now, you know, but I'm older, you know.
Yeah, sure.
But save money and just work on those little things and build yourself up. Don't tear yourself down. Build other people up. Don't tear them down. And I think like you're gonna make your life better and everybody's life around yours better if you just like do things for yourself that are fucking positive, you know. And don't get caught up in the fucking bullshit, because it's not bullshit. It's not bullshit. That's not what I mean. I just mean like, don't lose sight of like, you gotta fucking still work on yourself, you know. You gotta make your life better. And it's kind of like an airplane, like when fucking, if you're going down, the parents got to put the mask on themselves before the kid, like take care of yourself, you know. You got to fucking
100%.
So in that regard, like I think that in regards to real estate, being introspective and understanding yourself emotionally and psychologically is really important, because, you know, that's going to dictate your behavior at these conflict points that we all fucking have, because life's not easy. So that's important. And then I think as far as real estate, buy a house. Like, even if you have to move, I think it's worth it. Like we moved 12 hours away to a place we'd never been and took a chance, and it worked out. You know, like I made a calculated risk. I did a lot of research. Don't get me wrong. We didn't just fucking like, but it's, you know, like if it's not fucking working where you live, then hey man, I know friends and family are there, and I know it's complicated, but maybe move to somewhere that's going to work. And that's an option, you know. Fucking who cares? Just fucking move. It's a big country. It's a big planet. That's my opinion. Okay. But
Great.
I think like buying a house, like, how am I going to buy a house if I don't have any money and my job sucks and I got this and I got blah, 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 blah. I get it. First of all, like there's always a cheap house somewhere. It's possible. Okay. It's fucking possible. You can do it. But as far as like how to do it, like get your credit better. How do you do that? Real simple. Get a credit card from a fucking whoever the fuck with a $500 limit, and just buy. Don't go above 30%. Keep it under 30%, but above 20%. Pay your bills on time. Your score is going to go up 50 points in a month or so. Like I've seen it happen I tell coworkers and shit this shit, and it works. And that's a way to get your credit score up. The other thing is like, you could get, God, I was just looking at it. FHA mortgage, 3.5% down, 580 credit score. 580 credit score is dog shit. Like conventional mortgage, it's 620. I can't believe that, because I had to have mine at 720 when I bought my first house, but that was, I don't know. I guess it was a different time because of the mortgage crisis and everything. But like your credit doesn't have to be that high right now, and 3.5%. That's a lot if you're talking like, you know what I mean? You're still talking like fucking $5,000 or something. But I partnered on these real estate deals with family and friends. Like, if you put the work in and people see, like, I'm not talking about you tell people you want to do it. I mean, you make the steps and you fucking actually make moves to where you're a little like, fuck, you know, like, I hope this works out. And you're going to see people come to your aid because they're like, this motherfucker's trying right now. You know, people will come to your aid. It's, you know, if you're really putting in, you know, but you could save up some money at your shitty job or your good job, whatever you got. And, if, like I said, like FHA loan, you don't need a high credit score, 3.5% down. You're talking maybe a few $1,000, depends on where you live, you know. And also, like, we've lived in the hood. That's a thing. Like, what are your standards? Because mine are there. Like, I mean, they are now, I guess, a little bit, but like initially, I mean, you know, Shannon's first house, they were like, it was kind of in an alley, and there were like hookers pulling into our driveway doing business, and the next morning we'd find a used condom and a men's sock in our fucking driveway, and our dog would go out to pee and we're like, no, don't eat that, you know. It's fucking ghetto as fuck. We saw someone get shot down the street, but hey, I don't know what to say. Like, that's
yeah, I mean, yeah,
maybe I'm hard, maybe she's hard, I don't know, but I mean, from that, like, good things happened, you know. We just stayed on track. But for me, it's like, just get in a house that'll work, like, that you can afford. If you got to move, and like, the alternative is you just rent forever. And it's like, I don't know, man, like, why, you know, you could fucking buy a house and live in it, and you could do whatever the fuck you want. You can get pets, you could fucking fix it up. It's your house, you can do whatever the fuck you want. You got to learn how to fix some shit up, but just get on YouTube, you know?
Right.
And then 6 years, you could sell it and make a lot of money, basically. And if the market dips, don't worry, just wait a little longer. You still got a house. I mean, it's just I don't know. And there's always a fucking deal. There's always a fucking house. It's not like, well, everyone's doing it. It's like, I can't now because the it's bullshit. There's always a house. There's always a deal. Like, there's plenty to go around. You know, it's fine. Like,
yeah.
Abundant. And how many people really make that step too? Like, people talk about it, but how many people really make the step when you know what I mean? When you think about that it's oversaturated. A lot of people talk about it, but, you know, oversaturated, I don't know.
That's an extremely good point. I mean, I'm first off, greatest answers. So helpful. I'm so glad you expressed all of that. It just kind of blew me away. It was just great. I'm so glad for you to spend this time with me and kind of go over some of this stuff. I mean, if anything, I will check in with you within, 6 months or so and see how things are going, just as a check-in. I'll do that anyway offline as a friend, but I'm really grateful for your time and willingness to come and speak with me. I know that so many people I know are going to benefit from hearing your story in many different ways. I know that there's so many takeaways for people to really, get something from this. And I'm so thankful that you're willing to share your story.
Well, thank you very much.